creatures. We often assume that animals can't understand language the way humans do. But is that a modern limitation we place on them? Eve's interaction with the serpent might suggest that, in the garden, this wasn't an impossible or strange thing. Maybe the animals weren't just creatures of instinct. They may have been able to communicate in ways that we today would find incredible, or even impossible. But this brings us to a larger question. What did Eve, or the humans of Eden, understand about animals? Today, we know that animals are capable of a wide range of behaviors, emotions, and even problem-solving abilities. Dogs can understand our commands, dolphins have complex communication systems, and some primates can learn sign language. But none of these animals, at least as far as we know, have the ability to speak the way humans do. Yet, in the Garden of Eden, it seems that this wasn't the case. Could it be that the serpent in Eden was actually speaking a language that Eve could understand? Or was it a different kind of communication entirely? Was Eve gifted with an ability to comprehend the thoughts of all creatures around her? Could the very fabric of reality have been different back then, where the division between species wasn't so clear-cut? And then there's the role of the serpent itself. It's often portrayed as a symbol of temptation, leading Eve to disobey God's command. But if the serpent could speak, what does that say about its own intelligence? The serpent in this story seems to possess a knowledge and craftiness that goes beyond the average animal behavior. In a world without sin, could this serpent have been more like a wise teacher, offering Eve the opportunity to learn something profound about her own existence? Or was it simply a creature in rebellion, using its newfound ability to speak for its own purposes? What if the very nature of communication in the Garden of Eden was vastly different from what we understand today? We tend to see communication as an exchange of words, of language. But what if, in the garden, communication was much more intuitive, direct, and unspoken? Maybe Eve didn't need words to understand the serpent, and maybe the serpent didn't need to talk in the traditional sense. It could be that everything in the garden was infused with a kind of deeper connection, something that went beyond mere speech. In this perfect world, perhaps Eve's lack of surprise isn't so strange. Maybe, in Eden, all creatures were capable of communicating in ways that we simply can't comprehend in our fallen world. Maybe, in a place of pure innocence and harmony, Eve understood the serpent just as easily as she understood the birds of the air, the fish of the sea, or the other creatures of the garden. In our modern world, we view communication through the lens of language, structured systems of words, and vocalization. Animals communicate with us through body language, sounds, and signals, but not in the way humans do. However, there is still so much we don't understand. We've only scratched the surface of what animals are truly capable of. Perhaps in a different world, one that wasn't tainted by sin, the ability for animals to speak, or for humans to understand them, might have been entirely possible. So, what do you think? Did Eve's conversation with the serpent reflect a deeper, more profound connection between humans and animals that we've lost touch with over time? Could it be that the ability to communicate with animals was part of the perfect order in Eden? Or do you think there's something else at play here? Maybe it was a supernatural event, a one-time occurrence in the history of creation. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let's dive into this discussion. Leave your comments below and let's explore together the mysteries of Eden. And remember, whether you agree or disagree, let's keep the conversation respectful and open-minded. There's so much we can learn from each other. But the question remains, what can we learn from this story today? It's easy to dismiss the serpent's conversation with Eve as just a metaphor, a symbolic representation of temptation, or even an ancient story designed to explain the fall of mankind. But what if there's more to it? What if, beneath the surface of this familiar tale, we can discover something profound about how we view the world and our relationship with animals, nature, and even each other. If we look closely at the way that Eve interacts with the serpent, it's a reminder of a time when communication may not have been so limited. In our world today, we're often confined by language barriers, cultural differences, and even species differences. But what if there was a time when those barriers didn't exist? What if the first humans, living in Eden, experienced a world where there were no distinctions between the creatures of the earth, where humans and animals shared a language or understanding of one another? Imagine a world where human beings could speak to the birds in the sky, understand the thoughts of the wolves, or listen to the wisdom of the trees. In the Garden of Eden, where everything was in perfect harmony, could the act of communication have transcended words? Could it have been a more spiritual form of connection, where the very essence of life was understood intuitively and not just through structured language? Now let's turn the lens back to our modern world. We live in an age where we've made incredible strides in understanding animals and their behavior. We know that dolphins communicate with one another using complex sounds. We know that elephants grieve, that crows are incredibly intelligent, and that octopuses can solve problems in ways that we might find surprising. But we also know that we're just scratching the surface. Every day, we uncover new layers of animal intelligence, new ways of seeing that animals are not simply driven by instinct, but have rich emotional and intellectual lives. Yet we still don't fully understand what it means to communicate with them. What if the story of Eve and the serpent is an invitation for us to reconsider our assumptions about the intelligence of animals? In fact, perhaps our limited understanding of animal intelligence today is a reflection of our own disconnect from the world around us. Could it be that our modern separation from nature, the rise of technology, urbanization, and industrialization, has caused us to lose touch with the natural world in a way that the people in Eden never did? Is it possible that if we return to a more harmonious relationship with nature, we could begin to perceive the world in a way that was once possible? Could we hear the whispers of the wind, or understand the messages in the song of the birds? But there's more to this question than just how we might communicate with animals today. The deeper question is this: what does the conversation between Eve and the serpent tell us about the nature of temptation, knowledge, and free will? After all, the serpent wasn't just talking about the weather or asking Eve about her day. The serpent was offering Eve knowledge, the knowledge of good and evil. The serpent's words were a temptation, an invitation to see the world in a different way, a way that would ultimately change everything. Please remember, we're here to explore and learn together. Let's keep the conversation thoughtful, respectful, and engaging. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with others who might be interested in this discussion. And as always, keep questioning, keep wondering, and stay curious. Until next time, take care and stay thoughtful. See you soon.